Josh Hawley says that whistleblower David Grush's claim surrounding unidentified flying objects is pretty close to information he received in a briefing after the United States shot down a spy balloon as well as other UFOs this past winter. Hawley told the outlet Wired, quote, "The takeaway from the briefing is that they had thousands of sightings of these things over the years, which was news to me, so I'm not surprised necessarily by these latest allegations because it sounds pretty close to what they kind of grudgingly admitted to us in the briefing." So I would love to follow up with Josh Hawley there to hear more details. So if he's just saying that, well, yes, we got a report about UFOs, unidentified flying objects, right, that is well established. I believe that our pilots, other people have seen objects that they can't account for, maybe have recovered pieces of objects that we're not sure of its origins. Grush was making the specific claim that he knows someone, he has spoken to someone who can speak to crafts that were recovered that are not of human origin, and also pilots that were recovered that are not of human origin. Is Hawley saying that's what he heard in closed-door meetings on this subject? Because that would be pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the nature or pattern or whatever was described in reaction to the most recent UFO event is similar to what he had heard behind closed doors. But that could mean that what he heard behind closed doors is about non-alien craft. I mean, to your point about UFOs just being, I completely understand. But other things Grush has said, I mean, the idea of non-human remains being captured or craft, machine, technology that clearly is of non-human origin, that's a different kind of a thing than there was an unidentified object and it turns out to be a weather balloon or an enemy plane or whatever, another country.
Right, but Hawley was saying that what Grush is saying sounds like things he's heard, behind closed doors. Yeah,
I mean, look, he's talking to someone else, and I understand that he doesn't want to give up his source. Completely understand that.
Grush.
But there is something, we were dealing with this a little bit with Cy Hirsch's story. It seems to me that in some cases, there are corroborating details short of your source. So explain to me why you believe your source. I'm not asking you to say, well, I believe my source because his name is da-da-da-da and he's a journalist such and such. No. But I am asking you to say, well, specifically, what about the remains indicated they were of non-human origin?
Yes, to that point, that's why I specifically asked Cy Hirsch when we had him on. I'm like, well, did he have documents to show you? Plans, paper...
Sure.
Papers.
Sure. Or even, how do you know that this organic matter was extraterrestrial? Did it have compounds in it that are not present on Earth? There has been a tradition of kind of fake science, museum exhibits in the Victorian era of monkey tops sewn onto dolphin bottoms, and you say this is a mermaid, and people go and tour this thing for years. We used to live in a world where that kind of fantasy exhibition was very common. So, I think it's reasonable to want to corroborate that the mound of flesh that you're looking at isn't just from a tapir or some weird animal that we have on Earth.
A platypus. Sure. The weirdest animal of all.
A platypus, or one of these deep sea creatures, or whatever it is. So is there, what about the technology led people to believe that it had to be extraterrestrial again? Is it because it was made out of minerals that are not present or common on Earth? Is it because the technology could do things that human technology hasn't been able to accomplish? Levitate, go at warp speed, whatever it is. Those are the kinds of things which I think would be more reassuring to people who are skeptical. And as the story continues to play out without more corroborating details, I do think that people's attention span is going to begin to wane.
Yeah. I want to see the put up or shut up. I keep saying that. I want to see the report. I want to talk to not the guy who talked to the guy who knows something, but the guy who knows something.
Yeah, I mean, do you have an...
But I mean, sometimes these things are accurate. Like we're talking a lot today and this week about COVID's origins. Michael Schellenberger, just on his Substack with Matt Taibbi, reported that these are the names of the 3 people who got COVID first. They're scientists at the lab, suggesting beyond any reasonable doubt that that's where it came from. It was not reported anywhere else. He had a confidential source or sources that he couldn't share with us, and so we reported that, and we said, well, we obviously can't verify it, but this is a journalist. These are journalists we genuinely trust who think have done good work, and that's what they're saying. And now this week, it was confirmed also by the Wall Street Journal under similar circumstances. So sometimes somebody a little. I'm going to say off the beaten path or not part of an institution or an establishment does have information that turns out to be correct. This is going to end up being a textbook case of that.
Yeah. Now, I will say that I don't know that the Josh Hawley kind of weighing in here
maybe he's trying
militates
to
in favor of it.
Fever.
Yeah, I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
This is obviously a hot topic. People, for whatever reason, maybe because they're bored or depressed by the current news cycle, are hoping that there's something more out there other than another cycle of two candidates that we've already seen race against each other and a Congress who has no intention on following through on agenda items even when they're shared by a majority of the American public. I get it. It's why sci-fi has always been a source of escapism for me, too.
You sure you don't want to take that trip to the bottom of the ocean?
That is not the kind of escapism I'm interested in the least. I'd rather go up than down.
Up than down.
But, Josh Hawley weighing in doesn't do anything for me at all. What I would like to see is, now, the House is in Republican control. I would like to see them launch whatever kinds of investigations are necessary to get to the bottom of this, as this really is something that Josh Hawley and others see to be a priority.
Declassify, declassify, declassify. Don't do it the Trump way. Don't just put it in a box and take it to your home, but actually declassify it. Actually have transparency around this issue.
What do you make of the argument that the timing of this particular story and of the earlier UFO story is an elaborate distraction technique? I don't
accept that. Who is the puppet master with this much control over the planet that they can? I must distract the mortals with this. I will inject this into the news cycle. Who's the person doing it?
The deep state regularly feeds stories to mainstream media to get them to talk about whatever or adopt whatever narrative that they.
The deep state is doing it. The deep state is knocking us off.
The intelligence agencies.
Our focus.
Yeah.
So that's the theory: is that they're leaking alien stuff to distract from other things.
Yeah. Maybe we want to talk about how the FBI needs to investigate aliens as opposed to defunding the FBI.
But we're still talking about that.
Well, maybe it's not effective enough. Maybe they're working on it. But the idea is, a lot of people are very suspicious about the timing of this particular story and the fact that we do tend to have recurring cycles of our aliens' real discourse.
Would that theory mean that David Grush is in on it, though?
Not necessarily.
So I don't understand how it works then.
Not necessarily. He could be, and I'm not saying this is true, obviously, but he could be a useful idiot. He could have been shown documents or informed in some ways that he went to the public because he really believes it's real. But he could be being hoodwinked as well. I mean, I'm going to be beaten up for not believing necessarily that aliens exist. I'm going to get beaten up for thinking that that's a little too out there. Look, you guys, the world needs skeptics. Every Fox needs a Scully. Every Mulder needs a Scully. And, I appreciate Robbie's pushback in these UFO segments. Hopefully, though, those of us who believe will get further confirmation one way or the other as the story continues to be reported out. We're home rising for you right after this.